Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Kenny Polcari, and I am your host of the party. And this is Wednesday, August 25th, morning market commentary. Everything you need to know to get your day started. So what happened yesterday? As you can imagine, stocks did not go down, right? The market did not go down. And nor did stocks go down. They just keep going up, and we'll talk about that. Economic data yesterday was just a bit weaker, which is actually positive for the Fed because they'll use that as an argument for maintaining policy. The House yesterday afternoon passed a $3.5 trillion blueprint for that human infrastructure bill. Lots of conversation around that. Oil has rallied and now gained 9.5% in just 3 days. Joey, late yesterday afternoon, commits to the Taliban-imposed August 31st end date. Lots to talk about there. And what are we having for dinner tonight? We're going to try the beef short ribs. So look, one of these things doesn't belong. Tell me which one. The market went up. The market went up again. The market made new highs. And the market went down. Bingo! And you would be correct if you chose number 4, right? The market did not go down. Not even for 1 minute did it go down. Futures were up in the pre-market and they continued to move higher after the bell rang, never even looking back, ending the day higher once again. The Dow adding 30 points. The S&P added 7, making another new high. The NASDAQ up 78, also making another new high. The Russell up 22 points while the transports added 32 points. Economic data yesterday was just a bit weaker, right? The Richmond Fed coming in at 9 versus 24, and new home sales only rose by 1% versus the expected 3%, which is a positive for buyers because maybe the mania is starting to roll over in the housing market the way the Delta variant is rolling over in the virus market. And then we waited all day long to see what was going to happen down in Washington, D.C. in the House, right? A House under Pelosi rule. Word had it that she and her squad were making threats to elected officials if they chose to not fall in line. Joey was also busy making phone calls about the stimulus package, pushing the crisis in Afghanistan onto Jen Psaki's desk. Threats of redistricting, threats of supporting new candidates, threats of committee assignments being taken away or never offered, threats of isolation in the people's house were all fair game. She held nothing back to get compliance. And the Democrats that caved are going to have to answer their constituents at the polls in November of 2022. In the end, though, the House voted right down party lines to approve that $3.5 trillion stimulus package blueprint, while at the same time they locked in a late September vote for the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill, which we know is going to pass, and a sweeping voter rights legislation bill, which even Pelosi said on August 1st in an interview that she has not even seen it yet. But apparently that's okay. We'll just push it forward. And this was just another reason for investors to go all in for stocks, and that pushed stocks higher. Because the now potential $4.5 trillion in spending is nothing but cash being pumped directly into the system. Now I say potential because yesterday's vote was not a final vote on this $3.5 trillion package. All it did was allow them now to sit down and try to write a bill that the Senate will accept. Because the House has by default and by the majority already blessed it, right? They're passing it in any form. But it's a couple of Democratic moderates in the Senate that will prove to be a challenge because the Senate is split right down the middle, 50-50, right? With Kamala Harris as the tiebreaker. So the Dems cannot afford to lose one single vote, not one. So all eyes are going to be on Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, right? 2 senators that are expressing some concern. So expect that we're going to hear lots about this in the coming weeks and months, and expect lots of pressure on those two. But hang on, because there's more. The dollar, under just a bit of pressure, once again gave the commodity complex another reason to join in the fun. And oil, which has been under undue pressure of late, falling nearly 15% since August 1st, has rallied back. Yesterday rallied back 3% to end the day at 67.54 as it makes its way back up and through intermediate support, which was 66.67, leaving it ready to take back the night, which is really resistance at 69.82. Now, just to be clear, oil is up 9.5% in 3 days. Now, once it pierces 69.82, you can expect we're going to see oil rally right back to the mid-70s where it was before the hysteria group took control of the narrative. In any event, that's exactly why you can't become emotional. Look at me telling you not to become emotional. Do you know who I am? Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Years of therapy. The 10-year treasury yesterday, the 10-year yield rose to end the day at 1.295%, while the VIX held tight at 1727, and gold really churned, ending the day at 1805, right really where it was the day before. This morning, U.S. futures are up again. The Dow's up 13, S&Ps are up 2, the Nasdaq's up 20, the Russell's ahead by just 1 point. So you can see they're just kind of churning, right? Eco data today includes mortgage apps, durable goods, which are expected to be down 0.3%. Durable goods ex-transports are up 0.5%. Capital goods ordered and shipped, expectations of up 0.5%, up 0.7%, respectively. The focus today is going to be on D.C. and what the passage of that vote now means for stocks, sectors, and opportunities. And the push is on. In addition, there's going to be more speculation around tomorrow's launch of the Kansas City Fed's Jackson Hole Summit. Jay Powell's to address the group on Friday. And by now, we all know what he's going to say, right? Essentially nothing new at all. He's going to repeat what we know. So in the end, I think it's going to be a big yawn, right? He's not going to announce anything special. He's going to reiterate what he's already said, not painting himself into any corner at all. European markets this morning are subdued. Germany's IFO Business Climate Index coming in at 99.4 versus the expected 100.4. So a slight little miss there. In the UK, retailers are reporting a surge in consumer spending, but yet a fall in inventories. And so what's that doing? It's forcing prices to go higher. Think inflation. The World Health Organization is set to hold a news conference today to reveal the latest developments around the pandemic around the globe. And at 6 a.m. this morning, European markets were all just slightly higher, up about 0.2%. Nothing at all dramatic. Investors across Europe, like here in the U.S. and the rest of the world, are also going to stay focused on the crisis in Afghanistan. Yesterday, Joey announced that the U.S. is going to be out of Afghanistan on August 31st, and that was really met with a range of emotions by a lot of people. It is still unclear what the European allies are going to do in the face of the line drawn in the sand by the Taliban, right? Because they have to be out too by August 31st. And there's some push and pull on this. Bitcoin this morning is under a little bit of pressure, trading at 47,000, so that's down 2,000 or 3,000 from the high seen earlier in the week, and Ethereum is trading at 3,100. The S&P ended the day yesterday at 44.86 after testing as high as 44.92. It traded in a very, very tight range yesterday and will most likely do the same today as investors await the Jackson Hole Summit, right? There's sure to be more focus on the Democratic plan to push through this massive spending package as the mainstream media tries to take the focus off the international crisis in Afghanistan. Yesterday, Press Secretary Jen Psaki told us that it's unfair to classify any American as stranded in the country, promising to get them all out. The problem is, they have no idea how many are really trapped in locations outside of Kabul. So let's be honest. Just let's be honest. This is a disaster, right? Now, remember, while the market is making new highs and it all feels good, we are about to enter the danger zone, September, October. So be careful. It doesn't mean you let your guard down. It doesn't mean you panic, right? We're entering the last week of August where volumes tend to dry up, leaving moves more exacerbated than normal. So yeah, I have to understand that, some of which we're already seeing, right? Some of these moves I think are exacerbated, but, and then we come into September, October, which is full of seasonal volatility. Now that doesn't mean we panic, like I said. You have to just stay awake. Buying some downside protection maybe isn't a bad idea. Remember, that's strategic. You don't buy that as a long-term investment. It's strategic. So you have to kind of think about how you feel and where your risk, what your risk profile is. Remember, you can always text the word invest to 21,000 on your cell phone to get my digital business card. It comes downloaded right to your phone. You can put it right into your contacts. Feel free to reach out, send me an email, send me a text, call me. I'm always happy to discuss the markets. I'm always happy to discuss ideas, concerns, issues, whatever. And you can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @KennyPolcari. On Instagram, it's KennyP1961, which was also my badge number. And it's also the year I was born, right? And if you're watching this, you can also find me on my YouTube channel, Kenny Polcari Media. Okay, so yesterday I featured baby back ribs, and one of my readers asked me if I had a recipe for short ribs, beef short ribs, and I do. And so I told him that I would feature that in today's letter, right? So I'm going to give you the beef short ribs today, but tomorrow I'm going to give you a pan-seared garlic butter ribeye. Oh my God, don't move, because that's really also a simple, but it's a very good recipe. So for today's recipe, you need 8 beef short ribs. You need salt and pepper. You need chopped onions, celery, and carrots. You need 4 or 5 crushed garlic cloves, a thing of beef broth, a can of tomato paste, and 1/3 of a bottle of your favorite red wine. You're going to begin with the short ribs, right? Season them with salt and pepper, and then brown them in a frying pan with a little bit of olive oil, making sure to brown them on all sides until there's like a bit of a crust. Be careful not to burn the meat. After you brown them and it's a little bit crusty, place them in a large, deep baking dish, right? Or either an aluminum pan or a deep baking dish. Line them up on their side, right? Not flat down, on their side. Next, you want to take all your chopped veggies, right? So your onions, your celery stalk, your carrots. You want to take 4 or 5 smashed cloves of garlic. You want to put the garlic all around the meat first, and then take all these vegetables and pour it on top of the meat, covering the meat. You can shake the pan so some of the vegetables drop to the bottom, but you really want to cover the meat. Now go back to the frying pan that you used to saute the beef in. Now you want to add 1 can of beef broth, 1 can of that tomato paste, about 1/3 of a bottle of red wine. You want to mix it well, let it come to a boil for a couple of minutes as you steam away the alcohol in the wine. Now when that's done, right, when it's boiling and everything, now you're going to pour this into the baking dish. You want to bathe the short ribs in the mixture. You don't want to cover them. You just want to bathe them, right? Then cover it tightly with tin foil and put it in the oven at 350 and let it stay there for 4 hours, tightly covered. Don't open it, just let it stay there, right? So after about 4 hours, you can leave it in longer too. After about 4 hours, take it out, uncover it. It should smell delicious. You want to take the ribs out. Now you have a pan full of the veggies, right? Take half the veggies and blend them. Put them in the food processor and puree them, and use that now as a bed in a big, large serving platter. Put the pureed vegetables right in the center. And then take your ribs and line them up on top of the pureed vegetables on their side, and take the other vegetables which you did not crush and just put it all around, right? Put it all around the dish. It makes a beautiful presentation. Now, you can serve this dish with roasted red potatoes or regular roasted potatoes. You can serve it with rice. I wouldn't serve it with rice. I'd serve it with roasted red potatoes the way I like it. A big green salad mixed with tomatoes, red onions, cucumbers, scallions, right? Seasoned salt and pepper, a little bit of oregano, and then some olive oil and fresh lemon juice is always good. Or you could use a red wine and olive oil if you want. Whatever you choose, you can't really screw that up. And then to drink, you should drink the red wine you used to cook with. Now, for me, you know me, in a red wine, I would drink Brunello di Montalcino because it's like velvet. It is so delicious. In any event, the day's about to get started. The sun's coming up. It's going to be another beautiful day here in South Florida. You take good care, and I'll see you in the morning.